Hey guys, it's been a while. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make any videos. Being so busy here fixing lawn mowers to resell them and working and stuff, I just don't get the time like I used to. Well, I figured I better make a video just to let you know that I am still alive. Over my left shoulder, you'll see that I have 4 push mowers. I recently purchased them at a local tractor show, and I wanted to get them running. I like old equipment and whatnot, you know. I think they're neat looking and stuff, so I figured, what the heck, I only paid $10 a piece for them. See if we can get them going. Now, the first one you're going to see over here, this one here is an old Cooper. It's I would probably say it's probably in the 50s somewhere. It's got a Briggs & Stratton 6B. I think it's an HS or something like that. That one I already got running. Seems to run pretty good. You know, it needed to have the gas tank drained out of it and whatnot. And believe it or not, it did have spark. I didn't have to do anything with that, but clean the jet and the carburetor, which there ain't much to that one. Yeah, I had that one running, but I also have an old 20-inch Sears here. Over there, that's a brand that has no name on it. So it's a no-name brand. And then back there, that old rusty piece of junk there, that's a Homeco. That one, I don't know if I'll ever get that one running, but basically what I'm going to be doing here is going through the steps that I go through to get one of these old machines running. And I actually decided to go with that little red one back there. That's my next project, I guess you could say. Looks to be about a 20-incher. A no-name. It's a no-name brand, like I said, but I think, I don't remember if that's a 67 or a 68. It's between the Sears here and that one there. One of them's a 67, one of them's a 68. I don't remember which one. We can take a look at that then once we put it up on the table. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We're actually going to be trying to get that little red one running after sitting for God knows how long. But before we do that, I actually want to show you a little bit of what kind of tools I use to do this kind of work. Obviously, that one there, I have checked it. Doesn't really have any spark. You can feel a little bit of a tingle in your hand if you hold the plug while you're turning it over. But other than that, it's going to need to have the points clean. At least we know we have something there because you can feel it. But yeah, we're going to have to pull the shroud off the flywheel and get underneath at the points, which are actually located underneath the flywheel. So as soon as I go over these tools here with you, what I use, we're going to pull that thing up on the table and see if we can't get that thing running. So, okay, so here we are at my table. This is where we're going to be working on the mower today. I do have several different tools that I'm going to be using. One is a basic 1/4-inch drive socket set, which includes the 1/4-inch ratchet and a 3-inch extension. We're going to have a 3/8 ratchet with a 13/16 spark plug socket, as well as a 3/4-inch spark plug socket. Some of them have 3/4, some of them 13/16, so I got them both here. A basic flathead screwdriver, a smaller one because I found that this one here, it's skinny enough on the sides here that you can actually get it inside the carburetor where the jets are and unscrew those brass jets out. So that's actually a good screwdriver. I don't remember, it's a 3/16 by 6-inch gear head. I don't know. I don't remember where I got that, but basic pliers. I also have an old this is a tag that I usually put stuff, my prices and stuff on for stuff for sale, but you can use this to put in between your coil and your flywheel when you're adjusting your coil gap and whatnot. So that's about the size of a business card, or 10 thousandths. If you have a feeler gauge, you can use that. Basic little brass wire brush for cleaning the carburetor. I also have a 24 volt rechargeable 1/2-inch drive impact gun. Along with that, we have a set of 1/2-inch drive impact sockets, which are standard size. They're not metric. Then here we have this tool, and this tool is pretty important. This one here removes the little ratcheting piece that sits on top of the flywheel for your recoil. It spins while the engine's running, but when you pull the rope, the little balls go into a certain thing that allows the ratchet piece to grab and start your motor. But it has a couple different slots in it, and the ability to have a wrench or a socket or whatever put on it, so you can actually loosen that ratchet piece that's on there. So we're going to be using that. I also have a flywheel holder. I think this is a Briggs & Stratton one. I'm not sure. I think it is, but this actually would sit over around the flywheel here, and these little notches, part of the what I want to call like a fan blade that's on that flywheel, the air that creates the airflow, those would rest inside of here, and you can hold on to this while you're loosening the ratchet piece to loosen that. So that's what that is. Little pry bar. We also have here a small dish with a turkey baster, which I use to remove the old fuel. This is probably one of my best tools that I have around the garage. This is a 2-pound brass hammer. Reason that I bought this is because the brass is actually softer than, say, this. So if you're hitting on something, you're trying to get that flywheel to get loose, and you're pounding on, just say, the crank where the threads are, this will damage before this will, because it's a softer metal. So I found that to come in very handy over the years. And last but not least here, I believe, is my oil can, which is filled up with transmission fluid. I found that the transmission fluid does a very good job of lubricating different items that you may have stuck, or in our case, because we're going to have to remove the flywheel, I like to spray some IMAC transmission fluid down in around the crankshaft where the flywheel sits on, and that'll work its way in around there, and then hopefully we'll be able to just use the pry bar a little bit just to pry without using our hammer, and actually pull the flywheel off without hitting. So I've done that in the past couple mowers, and usually I just have to leave that transmission fluid sit in there for about 5-10 minutes, and it worked pretty good. So yeah, we'll have to see if it works on this one. We have no idea how long it's sitting. If it's sitting outside, if it's rusted, we have no idea. So that always comes in handy, especially for lubricating bolts and stuff like that too, if they're rusty and whatnot. So that's a good piece to have there too. But yeah, so that's pretty much the tools I'm going to be using. Next we'll get the little red push mower up over here, and we'll see if we can't get that thing working once again. So all right, see you in a little bit. All right, so now that we have the push mower up here on the table, first thing I like to do, because this thing hasn't been running how long, is just check the oil. Looks like it might have a leak somewhere. Looks pretty wet around here. Clean some of the dirt away. Yeah, got a little bit in there yet. Not full, but it's enough to, if we wanted to turn it over and at least try to see if it'll start, it'll be okay. So next thing is, I want to pull the spark plug wire. Do that. Now this spark plug was already loose, but it looks like a 3/4 inch spark plug socket would have done the job. Let's see, any gas in here? Oh yeah, that looks pretty. You guys can see in there or not. pretty orangish yellow. So, I guess we'll be using our turkey baster. We got the old gasoline out. There it comes. Yeah, that stuff looks awful. Oh, that's about as much as you're gonna get out. There's a very, very slight amount in there. But what I'll do is I'll leave the gas cap off. So maybe that stuff will air out. Okay, now that we have the gas drained out, next thing I want to do is remove the air filter assembly from the carburetor. Probably should have a bigger, oh, didn't matter. I'd say I should have had a wider screwdriver tip, but I'm curious to see what this air filter looks like. And it's starting to crumble a little bit, and you can see it's not the correct one. Doesn't really fit in there right, but looks like maybe at one point or another at least it was replaced, so I don't know. And I'm going to put this back in because in order to try and get this thing to run, this has to be in there. This is a Chocomatic carburetor, by the way, guys. So we're gonna have to remove the shroud from this. Oh, this is the 67, by the way. I just seen the numbers. Looks like we're gonna need a 7/16 socket for this. Another one up front here. Be able to see if we have a mouse nest or anything under here while we're at it. Usually I have a magnetic dish here too. I probably should have said that, but I don't have one here today, so I'll just set them so that they don't get lost, these bolts anyway. Now, there is a screwdriver end over here for this throttle cable in the back, but I think I can sneak that thing out. Yep. No mouse nest, that's good. Got some spider webs. So, here now, here's the ratchet I was telling you about. Some of them have a little hole in here so that you can go ahead. There's usually a little felt washer in there too. You just take a little automatic transmission fluid. If you work it up and down, it'll bubble a little bit, but it is going down in there. And all that's all in there already. Just work it up and down a little bit here. That's how you keep that thing lubricated in there. Otherwise, if you didn't, it would get rusty and it would make an extremely loud screeching noise while running. So now we have some little screw heads here, but we can put a 1/4 inch on them, 1/4 inch socket. That way we don't strip them out. And there's your flywheel screen. Now, we're going to be using this tool here. This is what I was talking about, goes down over this, sits on there. I found out that it's actually a 7/8 socket that'll fit on top of there. Now we'll see if we can't buzz this thing off of here. There it is. Here's this flywheel holder I was telling you about. This would actually set in there like this, and then you can hold your flywheel. This thing just turns off of here. And I don't know if you can see in here or not, but it did get a little wet inside there and on the shaft here. Looks like our washer came off. Try and stick that back down in there. It's that little felt washer. That'll keep the transmission fluid in it. Kind of acts like a sponge, and it'll slowly drip down over this over time. So now this thing looks like it's been on here a while. Got some rust in there, but nonetheless, we're going to take a little automatic transmission fluid. Going to put it down in around the crankshaft here. Whoop, move the washer. And we'll leave that sit a couple minutes. We'll come back and we'll see if we can't remove this flywheel without hammering on the crankshaft at all. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, so I left this thing sit about 20 minutes, guys. You gotta watch how you do this. Not that you break anything. That's the magnet side, so we're gonna be using this side over here. And what I do is I just go up under here and I'll pry a little bit. There it goes. Well, that does work pretty good. You can see how the oil got down in around here, down in there, especially around the keyway. That's where it's going to be the worst. But there, that's off. So now, this is your points cover here. And basically, there's only 2 screws that hold it on. Those as well are both 1/4 inch. So we're going to be taking these out. Now, I don't have it here yet, but we're going to be using a little bit of emery paper. Sandpaper will work too. I don't use real abrasive stuff. And actually, what I might do is try to find a thin file and use that too. Excuse me for 1 second here. Woohoo! I'll have to tell you about this later, but I want my Cub Cadet oil bath breather carburetor. So I got a Cub Cadet original this weekend, same place I got this mower. I'll have to show you that in another video. First one I ever got. So now that those are off, this should just come free. A little sticky. I'll take these out. Here we go. Ah, yes, there's the points. You can use a file. I might use that, I might not. Thing is, when you use a file, it's a little abrasive, and you might have to adjust your points after that. When you use emery paper, you don't have to worry too much about that. See if I can get a better view of this for you. But right here's your points. Right here. This is your condenser here. And this thing here opens and closes, and your points are located in between those 2 little points there. So that's where we have to clean. So Let me go see if I can find some emery paper. Alright, so basically what we're going to be doing is, I got a little piece of emery paper. We're going to stick it inside of here and just move it around. We might have to close the gap a little bit. We can do that by rotating the blade underneath the mower. You want to do it to the point where they touch. Which is right there. And they are a little dirty. Also, what I like to do is touch them together a little bit here and rub them back and forth. Gotta make sure they're clean in there, so you want to blow them out. But that's really all you have to do, and I usually do this a couple times just to make sure they're clean. I think this is around, I want to say 800 grit sandpaper that I have here. You want to make sure they open and close okay, and check the gap. The gap here looks pretty good. You want to make sure this stuff works too while you're under here. This is your air vane, which operates your governor and your throttle linkage. As it runs slower, it gives it more gas, and when there's enough air, it will make the carburetor run at a normal speed. Sometimes what happens is you'll get a mouse nest up in here. This thing can't move and it wants to run rich all the time, and that'll cause the engine to overheat and possibly pop a valve seat or blow your engine. But I believe we're set here. So we're going to put the points cover back on her. Put everything back together. See if it has spark. Alright guys, as we're putting the points cover back on, you don't want to make it too tight. There isn't much to it. You can actually deform the little cover, so you don't want to do that. Next thing is, you want to make sure, see if I can rotate this thing. Here you can see the keyway. You know, when you put the flywheel back on, you want to make sure that little keyway goes in this little notch here for which it's made. Which here it did. Then we want to put our crush washer back on. And put our little ratchet back on. Screw that down. Now here's where I'm going to use this little hold down. A little holder, flywheel holder. We're going to use that to hold the flywheel straight as we're tightening this. You want to make sure that it's tightened enough, because if it's not, you can shear a flywheel key, then you're back to square one. You have to take all this back apart. So that should be good. So now that that's done, clean these spider webs out of here a little bit. And we have to put our flywheel screen back on. That just sits in here. So there's little holes in here for where the screws go through. These are the same way as far as tightening them as what I do with my little points cover there. You don't want to make them too tight, but tight enough. There's not really a torque spec for that. I just kind of go by feel. You don't want to strip them out because it's a little steel bolt going into aluminum flywheel. That's always fun to try and get out. What I'll do then before I put this shroud back on it is I'll put a little transmission fluid down at that little ratchet here again, just so it's lubricated for a while. If that would be rusty on that top part of the crankshaft where this ratchet goes on, what I like to do is take some 60 or 80 grit sandpaper and sand it down really well so that all the rust or corrosion is off of there. And I'll actually use my finger to put some automatic transmission fluid on that before I put this on, and I'll still squirt some automatic transmission fluid in the little hole that's up here. That way you should be good to go. But as you can see there, that's nice and free, and it does catch a flywheel when you go to turn it the other way. So now that that's done, we can put our engine shroud back on. We have to watch though, because got to make sure this throttle cable goes in that hole here first. Can be a little tough. Probably should remove it, but actually might have to remove it. See if it'll loosen here. There it goes. Loosen that, get the throttle cable out. Now we can put this down in here. Make sure you don't pinch your wires or anything. Make sure your governor here still moves. Your air vane and whatnot. Oh, this has... Oh, I thought this was automatic choke. I lied. This is actually a manual choke. When you move the thing here, it actually closes it. Cool. But yeah, that works. So now we can put our bolts back in. Tighten these up here. That's one. I don't know if you guys can read the numbers or not, but they're right down in this area here. Okay, so that's done. Now, what we want to do is get a spark plug. Should be a J17. Get a new spark plug for this thing. I'm going to put it on here, set it here. and maybe we'll be able to see if we have spark or not. We don't need to have the throttle cable hooked up right now to check for this, but we have to make sure that the throttle control is off the area of ground, which shuts the engine off when it's not in use. So try and zoom you in here. And see if we get spark or not. Oh yeah, did you see it there, guys? Whoop, there fell off, but yeah, we got spark. So I'll zoom out here. Now what we're gonna do is, hopefully before it rains, because it's getting cloudy, put the spark plug back in. Now we're gonna use the 13/16. Make sure it's tight. Put the wire on it. Yeah. Make sure the wire has good connection here. You can always squeeze this together a little bit with your hand or pliers. So that should be okay. Now we have this in here, this screw over here that I told you about. We need that in there to run, but I'm not going to put the air filter on it for the time being. But we are going to put some fresh gas in it. Move these tools out of the way here a little bit. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this throttle cable on here now. So that way we can control the, let's see which way is what. That's off. You want this to go a little further because of the choke. So right there should be good. We're going to tighten this screw down. Now you want to make sure we can go back the other way and still shut it off, which we can. Yep, that should be good. A little oil right around that little notch there where it touches the choke, so it moves freely. Now we're going to put some gas in it. Then we'll see if it'll start or not. Might take a little bit to get it running. Don't know if we're gonna have to adjust the jet or not that's on there. Depends on if it's clogged or not. And who knows, we might still have to take the carburetor off and clean the screen on the bottom for the pickup tube for the gas, because that could be clogged from the old gas being in there. But for the time being, we'll give it a shot. So let's get it down here. Should have enough oil in it to try it. But if we do want to run it longer, we do want to put the correct amount of oil in. Not that the engine goes bad or something. So let's give this thing a shot here. See if it'll run. We got it on choke. I guess what we could do is use a little bit of carburetor cleaner to give it a quick shot, make sure it's gonna run at least on that. It might start up and die, at least, you know, if it isn't getting enough gas for whatever reason. Don't need a lot. We'll open the choke up, spray a little in here. I'm gonna leave the choke open to try it, but here we go. Actually, that thing went. pulls the choke shut. And I do that. Alright, well at least it runs. It seemed to be running on its own. So next thing I guess we'll do is see if I totally just lost my train of thought. Oh, I want to put more oil in it. That's what I was going to say. We'll top the oil off and run it a little longer. See how it runs. I did notice though, when it's running, this choke here wants to go by itself. Now my guess is there's probably supposed to be a spring here that keeps that open until you do that. So I'd have to look at one of the other mowers to see for sure. But if you take it a little bit past full throttle towards the idle position, it'll actually close itself. It'll close the choke, which is why it shut off so quick and it didn't idle. If I hold that open, it might idle. But yeah, so we'll top the oil off and see how she'll run. So, alright, that should be the end of this video then, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you learned a little something on how to clean the points on an older Briggs & Stratton push mower engine here. It's a 3-horse. So, alright, thanks again for watching. We'll see you later.